This is approximately the fourth house subsequent to yours. The family living there may be making plans to. My dear toddler, if you agree with angels, begin this video and watch it absolutely. Angel says that is the moment you cannot have the funds for to skip. Archangel Michael has issued a command with urgency in his voice, and heaven has added this message at once to you. Do now not forget about this. This is not approximately coincidence. This is not approximately curiosity. This is about divine protection, about hidden truths surfacing, about the fourth house next to yours. You've walked past that residence extra times than you can matter. You've got glanced of their path. You have exchanged words. Maybe you idea it was just an ordinary circle of relatives. However, now heaven is telling you they're planning something so that it will shake you. A revelation has been organized. And whether or not you're ready or no longer, it's approximately to return to light. There are things taking place near you that you cannot see. There are conversations taking place in the back of closed doorways that consist of your call. There are secrets buried just toes out of your future. And the family in that fourth residence, sure, the only you are now picturing, they were looking, listening, and preparing something below spiritual instruction. You want to understand, this is not just about them. This is about something heaven wants you to know due to the fact will change the whole lot. They are not random. They had been located near you for a reason. Some elements of this are divine, but a few are rooted in darkness. God says, do not be afraid. What's coming to the surface is part of your liberation. What has been buried is being pressured out into the mild due to the fact you've got prayed too hard, cried too lengthy, and suffered too silently. Now the fact have to communicate. There may be a non-secular publicity unfolding, and it begins right round the corner. You'll start to see signs and symptoms. You'll start to feel unusual electricity whilst you skip with the aid of that uneasiness. That's now not paranoia, it is discernment. You're feeling what has been cloaked, energy, intentions, tension, and truths too heavy for the herbal mind to stumble on. Archangel Michael has visible the hidden plans, no longer just their words, however their hearts. And even as some in that residence are harmless, one individual is protecting onto a mystery about you. A secret they swore never to reveal. But God is popping their coronary heart. There might be a second, it's miles near, once they smash. Once they confess, while they are able to not keep back what they have got recognized. Whilst it occurs, do not be surprised if the message is available in a peculiar manner. It could come through a person you would in no way expect. A knock. A word. A whisper. Even an anonymous shipping. But it's going to shake the surroundings round your home. You want to be spiritually alert. Because this revelation is both a caution and a praise. A warning approximately how intently the enemy tried to perform within your orbit. And a praise because your obedience is ultimately being honored. God says, I noticed every time you walked with kindness. I noticed the way you helped others even while you had been bleeding interior. I noticed the way you stayed quiet in place of protecting yourself. And now, he says, it is time for vindication. This own family holds a bit of your spiritual puzzle. One member amongst them has carried guilt for years. They have been shown something about you in a dream, a caution they did not speak on. Untraining they had been too afraid to carry out. However, the spirit has been stirring within them once more. Your face is lower back in their dreams. They are being awoke night time after night time with visions. They're listening to whispers they do not understand. They experience a weight, a divine pressure, to come forward. And after they do, your world will shift. Don't suppose for 1 second this is just community drama. That is about divine alignment. God has placed you on this vicinity not for comfort but for collision, a collision of truth and timing. The enemy worked difficult to distract you from noticing what changed into proper in the front of you. But no extra. The veil is lifting. The plans are unraveling. And the fourth residence is ready to be the epicenter of a religious shockwave. Archangel Michael says they have been warned no longer to clutter together with your electricity. Considered one of them disobeyed. They dabbled in spiritual realms they did not recognize. They invited something darkish into their area, something that watched you. That spirit did now not have permission to touch you. Your angels made sure of that, but it lingered looking to mimic your electricity, trying to accumulate statistics. However, now that spirit has grew to become on them. And they may be terrified. They'll come to you now not just with a message, however with questions. They may ask you things they do not even understand themselves. Be clever in the way you reply. Be firm, however be led by means of the Spirit. Because what you say next will either ignite recovery or cause deeper chaos. The secret they monitor will destroy your coronary heart, however also set it unfastened. You could feel anger at the start. You may ask, why failed they tell me this earlier than? However, know this, divine timing controls everything. Or even this put off became important. Had it come too early, you wouldn't have been ready to hold it. Now you are. Now your spirit is geared up. Now your discernment is powerful. And most importantly, now your authority is simple. You are not who you was whilst this commenced. That is why God waited. This is why Archangel Michael stood silent till this hour. Now the message is clear. Prepare yourself. Prepare your area. Pray over your home, mainly close to the front door and the wall closest to the fourth house. Anoint your private home. Speak scripture aloud. Due to the fact as soon as the revelation comes, there can be a launch of spiritual electricity, both appropriate and horrific, that must be directed. Your angels are prepared, however your voice is wanted too. The moment you obtain the revelation, you will sense it on your body. A shiver. A warmness. A pulse. Something for your spirit will confirm, that is it. That is what heaven warned me about. And whilst that happens, understand that everything after that moment is acceleration. Doorways will open faster. cash that changed into court will start to waft. Folks who ghosted you will attempt to return. Your call will be cleared in locations in which it was slandered. And possibilities that once handed you by will come a lower background. Because the non-secular blockade is being eliminated. But this message comes with responsibility. You cannot go back to how things had been. As soon as fact is found out, lack of know-how is no longer a protect. You need to step into your complete authority. You have to defend your power like by no means earlier than. You must bless your house day by day. And you must be smart about who gets right of entry to on your time, your voice, your presence. Because now, you are walking in religious knowledge that others don't but recognize. And that know-how makes you a guardian. God says, you are a mild to your neighborhood. Your presence shifts the environment. That's why demons close to you have been agitated. It truly is why humans have projected their fears onto you. You didn't do whatever wrong. You just bring energy. And that strength exposes what others disguise. It is why the fourth house watched you so intently. Some have been curious. Some have been intimidated. However, one in every of them, considered one of them knows precisely who you're inside the spirit. And that they've been looking forward to the instant to approach you. That moment is now. Do not reply with worry. Respond with authority. Communicate lifestyles. Communicate peace. Talk safety. You aren't alone on this. Archangel Michael is published at your door. Gabriel is status on the intersection. Raphael is masking your heart. And your mother or father angel has already mapped out the conversation. It is coming. You will no longer stumble. You may not be shaken. You may be ambitious due to the fact you had been born for this. God says, your place is not a twist of fate. He located you precisely in which this revelation should reach you. He allowed the anxiety because he knew you can cope with it. You're a breaker. A reality bringer. A light bearer. And that is your hour. Everything hidden is coming to mild. The family within the fourth residence will no longer be capable of suppress it anymore. What became spoken in secret will now echo inside the spirit. What become planned in the darkish will now be judged in the mild. Watch what unfolds over the following couple of days. Goals. Visions. Unexpected shifts. You may sense like you are strolling through a religious film. However, don't be stressed. This isn't always fiction. That is success. Prophecy is activating in real time. You are entering into your function as a spiritual chief, whether or not you asked for it or not. And yes, it's going to sense lonely at times. But you are never by myself. Heaven backs you. Angels walk with you. And God has selected you to stand because the intercessor between light and darkness. This second become always coming. You simply did not know it could come this manner. However, now that it has, walk boldly. Talk carefully. Pray deeply. And accept as true with fully. due to the fact this isn't only a message. It's far a turning factor. It is a gate into the following measurement of your cause. And it starts with what's approximately to be discovered from that fourth house. Subsequently, God says, I like you an excessive amount of to will let you stay blind. That's why I sent this message. It truly is why I gave Michael the order to speak. It is why I not on time the judgment so the fact could reach you first. Now that you recognize, act. Now that you see, pray. Now that you've heard, upward thrust. This is your hour. Do now not ignore it. The revelation is already in movement. Put together for the surprise. Put together for the fact. Put together for your freedom. And now heaven has moved. The sword has fallen. The leash set for you has been broken, however not without divine war of words. The angels of the Lord intercepted the snare. The communication deliberate to apply against you has been spiritually reversed. What she intended for damage, what she concept you'll by no means discover, what she hoped might ruin your name, has now emerged as a divine weapon of justice on your choose. However, pay attention carefully. Though the entice failed to succeed, the struggle isn't always over. What happens now's the element you need to be most wakeful for. The exposure has begun, and it cannot be reversed. The female has been unmasked in the spirit. Her plans have crumbled. Her lies are trembling. The fake light she wore is fading. However, this is when she becomes the maximum risky. Due to the fact now she's desperate. Now she knows she's losing get right of entry to. Now she knows you are unsleeping. And desperate spirits will do something to keep the phantasm, although it approach growing chaos, confusion, guilt, or false reconciliation. Do now not fall for it. In case you'd like to donate or show your appreciation, you could give a terrific thanks as much as $100. The tears can be real. The apologies might also sound sincere. The timing may look divine, but it's all a cowl. Due to the fact once a mask is eliminated, the enemy's remaining motel is sympathy. But this isn't always the time to rescue her. This isn't always the time to 2ND guess the message. That is the time to face with holy energy and say, I choose obedience over comfort. I choose readability over confusion. I pick out purpose over people. The atmosphere around you has shifted completely. Things can also sense strangely quiet. You could experience a whole space wherein connection as soon as lived. It really is no longer loneliness. It is divine vacuum. Heaven has swept your environment. Angels have purged what become contaminating your anointing. This feeling of loss is the sound of deliverance. It is the price of clarity. However, on this clearing, God is planting something you in no way thought you'll experience once more, peace. No longer the fake peace wherein you had to maintain pretending. No longer the uneasy peace where you had been taking walks on spiritual eggshells. That is the deep, authentic, soul-degree peace that best comes after struggle. The struggle over your lifestyles has been raging for months. In the spirit, there have been councils of darkness that discussed how to weaken your power. Your name came up in rooms of each heaven and hell. They knew what become in your life. It really is why the attacks got here so silently, so deceptively, so emotionally. The enemy failed to need to damage you by way of pressure. He desired to get you to wreck yourself via misplaced agree with, emotional ties, and spiritual distraction. And the female god simply exposed, she became one of the enemy's favored equipment. She nearly succeeded. There were nights you nearly became your return for your calling because of how exhausted she made you experience. There have been mornings you awoke stressed approximately your motive because she delivered self-doubt into your maximum divine spaces. She used flattery as a leash. She provided help, however it usually got here with a hook. And though she stated she loved you, it became by no means love, it changed into envy disguised as empathy. She needed to live near so she could have a look at your energy and mimic your prefer. However, mimicry isn't always mastery. What God positioned on your lifestyles cannot be copied. She tried to emerge as you, but failed. She tried to sabotage you, however heaven intervened. And now, as she scrambles to get better, God says, allow her cross. Do not look back. Do now not textual content her. Do no longer explain yourself. Do not negotiate. This isn't abandonment. That is obedience. Obedience is messy sometimes. It makes you look heartless. It makes you sense cold. However, this isn't about ego. It is about elevation. And if you surely need the subsequent season God promised you, then you definitely ought to accept this subsequent truth. Some people are only loyal in your silence. The instant you begin talking reality, they begin warring in opposition to you. It is why she's been reacting the manner she has. Due to the fact your awakening threatens her role. Your barriers dismantle her manipulation. Your clarity is a replicate she cannot stand to face. She had a function to your old tale. But your new chapter has no room for counterfeit characters. And God has torn that web page. This is the web page of newness. This is the season of sudden reversals. That is where the very thing she tried to take from you returns with hobby. This is when people who walked far from you due to her lies start to see the truth and come back apologizing, broken, weeping, no longer due to the fact you requested them to return, but because heaven reordered their sight. What she tried to bury, God is resurrecting. What she attempted to curse, God is blessing. What she attempted to curl, God is straightening. And the very area in which she hoped you'll be humiliated becomes the very floor of your public honor. But be wise, even though the exposure has befell spiritually, some elements of this unraveling will manifest slowly inside the herbal. She might also nevertheless seem composed. She may also still maintain have an effect on. She might also nevertheless bring in target audience. But none of it is actual anymore. God says her time is finished. Her voice is void. Her want is counterfeit. Do no longer be distracted through her brief platform. Her fall is in progress. And whilst it takes place, You may be tempted to experience guilt, to doubt your discernment, to step in and rescue. But you ought to not. This is the achievement of heaven's justice. What you're witnessing isn't cruelty. It is cleaning. God has been merciful for too long. The lies went on too lengthy. The manipulation stole too much time. But now time has stuck up together with her. And she cannot outrun the reality. As for you, you're entering into a brand new alignment. A brand new safety. A new clarity. Matters will start happening quick now. God will open new doorways within the subsequent 7 days that were locked for years. You may see possibilities that pass each person else and land immediately to your lap. Now not due to success. Now not because of charm. However, because you in the end surpassed the check of religious maturity. You listened. You obeyed. You walked away. You believed heaven even if the whole lot around you stated stay. And for that, heaven is worthwhile you with extended prefer. The sort of fashion that makes others say, I do not know how you got that, however I know it was God. Archangel Michael now speaks for your spirit and says, you're secure. You are included. You are clean. You are covered. You are no longer deceived. He stood defend whilst you slept. He wept when you doubted yourself. He fought on your destiny whilst your wish almost collapsed. And now he rejoices. Because the entice failed. The counterfeit has been exposed. The divine has triumphed. And your legacy is unbroken. There'll nevertheless be tests in advance. There will still be whispers from the shadows. However, you will not fall for them. Because now you see. Now you already know. Now you walk with eyes wide open. Now your spirit can't be seduced by soft lies and sweet words. You bring discernment like a sword. And no counterfeit will come close to you again. Heaven is happy with you. No longer for being best. However, for being inclined. For trusting again. For obeying through the shaking. For on foot even if afraid. You've made it via the hour of publicity. And now, in the end, you input the hour of elevation. In case you believe in God, type Amen. Archangel Michael says, do now not ignore this below any condition. What you are approximately to discover will shift your information, clean away the illusions, and vicinity you head to head with a revelation that became never supposed to stay hidden. This is about the fourth house next to yours. Yes, that house. The one that in no way really stuck your full interest. The one whose silence concealed more than you could ever believe. That own family has been retaining a mystery, and that secret's not safe inside the walls in their domestic. The time has come for it to be exposed. This is why heaven pulled you here. This is why your spirit stirred without knowing why. Due to the fact something is unfolding that entails you at once. And God will no longer assist you to be blindsided. God says, my light, I need you to listen cautiously now. Do not be afraid. Do now not let your mind run wild with panic. You're safe. You are covered. You are surrounded by way of angels. However, this message cannot be delayed due to the fact the moment is